Good morning, everybody. We're live from the birdhouse. Today, we're talking about some of the birds that are coming in for the spring. There's been some new reports and some a pretty rare bird in the area, too, which we will show you. So, some exciting stuff today. As always, we like to know who's on. You can say hi. We love to know what kind of things you're seeing, so you can put those in the comments. And of course, if you have any questions, you can put those in as well. So, let's get started. The first thing is we do have our caption contest going on again. Some of you guys have participated in that in the past, and you can participate by going on our Facebook page and captioning this photo here. And this is a photo that was sent in for our photo contest last year by Chris Montalbano of the goldfinch looking at its reflection. Look for your comments on that so you can caption this photo, and then the one with the most likes or responses will win a $25 gift certificate to the birdhouse. So we have that going on right now. And then the big question that we are getting are, when are the Orioles coming? So they should be here soon. There's actually been a couple kind of reports of them scattered around upstate New York pretty early. It's just one or two that are kind of strays. But you should definitely have your feeder out by this weekend because they will start arriving next week, definitely. So we always recommend that you have your feeder out by around the 24th or so, just for your best results in getting the Orioles, because they should be here next week. They'll really start flowing in. And then hummingbirds will be shortly after that. So they usually start coming in the first week of May. And then they'll be here through about Labor Day. So it's just about time to put out your Oriole feeder. If you haven't already, you definitely want to get that up. And then your hummingbird feeder, not too long after that, the hummingbirds will be here. There has been a very rare bird here in the area. There was this individual, it seems, was seen around Braddock Bay around the 14th, and then has been hanging around Canisius Lake. This is a western tanager, and if you're a member of the Rochester Birding Community Group, that's a really neat group where people share their sightings, and if there's a rare bird around, that's usually the place you can go to see what's going on. So this is a western tanager, so definitely not a bird that is common around here that you would usually see around here. And it was seen in the Rochester area, and now it's hanging out around Canisius Lake. So really cool sighting. We had a painted bunting here not too long ago, a few months ago, was in the area. So that was a pretty rare bird, and I know some of you guys got to see that. And now here's another one. This is a western tanager, so it would be a little bit of a hike to go see, but could be worth it. And then, of course, mason bees are out, so they seem to have emerged last week. So they were buzzing all around and emerging from their houses. So now is absolutely the time to put out your mason bee house if you have one, or if you were thinking about getting one. Now is absolutely the time to put them out. So also, there are several different birds that are showing nesting behavior. Bluebirds have been one of them, and they are definitely showing signs of nesting behavior, bringing nesting material in and out inside of houses. And so that's a strong sign that they are building their nests right now. So that's been going on for a couple of weeks, and there's been more and more reports of that happening around town, as well as chickadees have been showing some nesting behavior as well. I should mention that tree swallows are also back. So when we're talking about some birds that are flowing into the area, tree swallows are one of them. And here's a photo that was sent in by Mark, who says, tree swallows flying around like crazy. Happened to spot them as I was leaving Canal Lock 32. So if you have bluebird houses out, you might also get tree swallows investigating them if you have that right kind of habitat, which is a nice open area where they can fly around in fields. So fields, meadows, they're a perfect habitat, just like the bluebirds. And they are also cavity nesters, so they will nest in the same kind of houses as the bluebirds do. And then chickadees are also cavity nesters, and these photos were sent in by Chris last week of a chickadee that was exploring this stump. And now the excavation has been going on, and the chickadee is now starting to gather moss for its nest. So chickadees are starting to nest as well, and they are also cavity nesters. So if you have a birdhouse out, you might see a little chickadee popping in and out. People do like chickadee houses because the hole size is just small enough that a sparrow can't squeak inside. So keep that in mind too. If you've got a bunch of sparrows around and you don't want them to nest in a house, you can get something that is chickadee sized, and they just can't squeak inside of there. So chickadees are showing nesting behavior, and here is a photo of one of the chickadees there with some moss in its beak. So they will build a nest using a lot of moss. So it's really cool nesting behavior right there. And then there's been some nesting activity of, this is a great horned owl nest that isn't all too far away from my house. And here's some photos of the mother. And if you look closely, you can see a little bit of a fuzzball there. That is the baby. And here's another photo here. You can start to see the little baby's face there. It's a kind of a little fuzzball. And you can see its eyes. You can start to see its beak. And then here's a better photo of it here, the young great horned owl there with its mother. So it seems to just have one young in the nest, but it won't be very long before the baby fledges. So this is a great horned owl sitting on its nest with its little nestling there with its, you can see its its big eyes there and its beak, and then he or she is a whole bunch of fluff there. And here's another photo of it too. So pretty cool to see a great horned owl nestling. There's a live stream you can see of a great horned owl nest out in Savannah, Georgia. The Cornell Lab has one of those live streams going, so you can always see that nestling's getting quite large and will be leaving soon if it hasn't already. So that is a great horned owl nest. And there's been some different birds that are coming into the area. This is one called a blue-gray gnatcatcher. And I don't think we've ever talked about them here on this broadcast. They're little birds, so they're about the chickadee sized or so. And they almost have this furrowed eyebrow here that makes them look mad. But they are starting to be seen again in the area. So keep an eye out for blue-gray gnatcatcher. And then American bittern. There's been some American bitterns reported. There was one seen at High Acres over the weekend, and you can look for them. They can be quite difficult to see though, because they do blend in very well with their surroundings. They like the wetlands, so you can find them in the same types of places where you'd see great blue heron, but they blend in really well with cattails. So you can see that striping that's on them. If they are camouflaged in a whole bunch of cattails or reeds, they can be really hard to spot. So this is an American bittern. And then here's a picture of a yellow-bellied sapsucker. Was able to see one of these while out hiking. Not the best photos, but you can kind of get the characteristics of it there. They are a migratory woodpecker, so they're not here all year round usually, but they are kind of like in between the size of a downy woodpecker and a hairy woodpecker, so a little bit larger than a downy woodpecker. And they have this yellow wash on their belly there, and they have some red on their head. So that is a yellow-bellied sapsucker. So they are coming into the area in some bigger numbers right now as well. And some other woodpecker activity, speaking of nesting activity, this is a pileated woodpecker photo that was sent in by Mark at Tinker Nature Park. It says pileated woodpecker nest. There was a pileated nest last year in this tree, and it's being used once again. So there's a pileated woodpecker sticking its head out of the tree there, and here it is outside, and here it is leaving its little nest site there. So another cavity nesting species. All of our woodpeckers will nest in cavities. So a lot of the times they'll excavate their own, or you can try to entice them with a woodpecker house. And here's another pileated woodpecker. This photo was sent in by Stephanie. And here's the pileated woodpecker on the paddle-tail suet feeder. So this is why people love the paddle-tail suet feeder so much, because you can get those larger woodpeckers on them, like this pileated woodpecker. You can see how it's using its tail to prop itself up while feeding, and that is why they like these paddle-tail suet feeders so much. And this is the largest one we have, and it's made specifically for the pileated woodpeckers. So really cool photo there, sent in by Stephanie. And Bob has been seeing sparrows. So all these photos were sent in by Bob. He says, sparrows, sparrows everywhere. Some photos I've taken over the past few weeks. So now is a time to look for some different types of sparrows in your yard. This is a chipping sparrow. So chipping sparrows are coming back into the area. We don't have them in the wintertime here. They're quite small. They have some chestnut colored on the top of their head, and you might see them underneath your feeders, cleaning up little seeds and things. So here is your chipping sparrow. And then here is a field sparrow. So another species that we have here in the area, white-throated sparrow. So these are often in backyards. They have the white patch on their throat, and then they've got the little yellow by their eye. So this is the white-throated sparrow. And then here is a tree sparrow. So tree sparrows are more of a wintertime bird that we have here. So they're going to be leaving soon, but you can still see them around. So here's your tree sparrow. And then a white-crowned sparrow, another bird, popular, common, I guess I should say, in backyards around this time of the year as birds are migrating through. They're going to be larger than the white-crowned sparrow, and they do have the black and white stripes on the top of their head. And song sparrow. So song sparrows definitely singing now. They can be found perched usually high up on a tree or bush, and they just sing their heart out. So this is a song sparrow. You might be lucky enough to get one even in your backyard. And finches. Lots of people have been reporting house finches coming to their feeders recently. And here's a photo sent in by Stephanie of her house finch here. And here's the male. They will come to Niger feeders. They also really like safflower seed, and they like black oil sunflower seed too. So if you're trying to get some house finches, those are going to be their preferred foods. It seems like that they like the safflower the best out of everything. If they have that choice, that's what they always go to in my yard. So they love the safflower, and then they'll eat other seeds as well. So a couple house finch photos here sent in by Stephanie. And there are some different ducks now in the area. Blue-winged teal. So this is a duck that we don't see in the winter time, and it's hard to see from this photo, but when they're in flight, they do have a bright blue patch on their wings. So it's really, really pretty bird, and it's got that kind of stripe there on its face. And this was sent in by Mark, and he saw the blue-winged teal there at Tinker Nature Park. So really cool sighting there of a blue-winged teal. And then also at Tinker Nature Park, sent in by Mark, is a golden-crowned kinglet. And these are cute little birds. You can usually see them bouncing around in trees. They can be hard to sometimes get your eyes on. And like their name suggests, they do have that little golden patch on the top of their head, but sometimes that can be hard to see, especially if they're up high in the tree. But they are around. We have two different types of kinglets in the area, the golden-crowned kinglet and also a ruby-crowned kinglet. So really neat sighting there of a bird you don't see every day, a golden-crowned kinglet. And then cormorants. So cormorants we can sometimes find here in the winter months, but they're going to be more common in the spring and in the summer. And here's a cormorant in flight sent by Mark, and he saw this at Kings Bend Park. So another really neat sighting there of a cormorant. You can often see them perched on something with their wings kind of spread out as they're getting some sun. So really neat sighting there. And American woodcock, people are seeing those. They are doing their mating calls, which sounds like peent, and they are also doing their mating dance, if you will. They have this really amazing flight where they'll go in a circle, they'll fly up into the air about 300 feet up, and then they'll make a zigzag pattern as they fly back down to the ground. So they do this really elaborate mating flight and mating ritual. So really neat thing that you can sometimes see if you're lucky enough, and especially if you're looking in open fields, that's where you're going to see this kind of spectacle. So if any place where you might see bluebirds or tree swallows, if you're there in the evening as it gets to dusk, you can sometimes see the woodcock doing its mating flight. So really, really neat thing to see. Some more birds sitting on nests. This was another photo sent in by Mark, who went to Montezuma Wildlife Refuge. And here's an osprey sitting on the platform. And here's one in flight. So if you're by the water and you're seeing big birds, and they're not quite bald eagles and they're not turkey vultures, they could very well be osprey. They have long, thin wings, and you can find them by the water. They will eat lots and lots of fish. And here are some purple martins, also from Montezuma. And here they are sitting on their house there. So they are coming back into the area. And if you ever go to Montezuma, when you first pull into to the nature center there in their parking lot, they have purple martin houses set up, and you can see these birds fly around. So really neat. And then a great blue heron. So great blue herons, definitely more of them coming into the area. And tree swallow. So here's another tree swallow photo, another cavity nesting bird that we have here. So that is everybody's photos that you guys sent in. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any comments or questions, you can put those in the comments. Randy says, good morning, Liz. Love your owl images. Thank you. So yeah, you never know what you'll see when you go out hiking. I can pull that out, and here is the photo of the great horned owl nest here with its young. Bob says, good morning, bluebird update. So Bob has been sending us his photos of his nesting bluebirds, and we can pull those up, and he has an update here. Let's see. He says we are up to 5 eggs in the nest as of yesterday. That might be all, as the female has been spending more time in the birdhouse. Yeah, that's about their max, I believe, is 5. You might get one more, but that is good news. So the bluebirds have 5 eggs there in the house. So they are on their first clutch. Stacy says, I've been watching a red-bellied woodpecker working diligently cleaning out a cavity in our backyard, hoping it sticks around and nests there. It sounds like it. The chances are pretty good, if it's excavating a cavity there, that they will be nesting. Bob says, anyone else using the Merlin app for sound/songs? I've been getting crazy results, and I'm thinking mimics are taunting me. It could be. I've seen pine warbler, palm warbler, brown creeper, northern harrier, rose-breasted grosbeak, and even a painted bunting show up on the app, but nothing cited. Yeah, so some of these, though, you could very well have. Pine warbler, yes, you could have that. So they're one of the earlier warblers to come into the area. People have been seeing yellow-rumped warbler and pine warbler. I wouldn't be totally surprised if you did have one. Palm warbler, it's a little early for them. Brown creeper, though, are around. Northern harrier are around. The rose-breasted grosbeak, they'll show up soon, too. So they'll be here soon, around the same time as the Orioles show up. So next week, you might start seeing those rose-breasted grosbeaks coming to your feeder, if you have a feeder with perches that are large enough for them to land on. So they are quite a large bird, so they do need something with a lot of open room. So, a tray feeder, something with a tray on the bottom. Those are perfect for rose-breasted grosbeaks. Painted bunting, probably not, but crazier things have happened, because we did have one in the area just a few months ago. So Stephanie says, we were sitting in our backyard on a recent warm day, watching the birds and squirrels at the feeders, when a Cooper's hawk swooped right past us and perched on the hammock post before flitting off. It didn't look like he caught anything on that dive bomb. So Stephanie is still seeing some Cooper's hawks. Usually people get a lot of those in their yards in the wintertime when food is a little bit more scarce, but they definitely go after birds and some other critters you might have in your backyard. So be on the lookout for them, definitely. Karen says, good morning. Thank you to everyone sending in all those great photos. And Stephanie says, when should we start thinking about putting out our Oriole feeders? Sorry, I missed that update last week. Oh, that is fine. That is the main question. And you definitely want to get them up this week. So we always recommend having them up by like the 24th or so, because that's really when they start to come in. So by this weekend, I would absolutely put them out. So now is a really good time to make sure you've got one, you've got your jelly, and I would get them out, this week. So the sooner the better. And John says, is it possible to get Orioles in the Cincinnati, Ohio area? If so, how can I attract them? So yeah, absolutely. That's part of their range. So they do go out that way, and you would attract them with an Oriole feeder, which is usually some kind of a combination of feeding them jelly and oranges, sometimes nectar as well. If you're only putting out one thing, I would put out the jelly. That's really what they prefer the most out of everything. And then if you're putting out, a second thing, I would do the oranges, and they will drink the nectar, but it seems like that's the thing that they go for the least. So if you put out your Oriole feeder with the jelly, especially, and some oranges, you should have good luck. I'm not totally sure when they come to the Cincinnati, Ohio area, but I would have to guess it's around the same time as they would be showing up here. So I would get it out this week as well. And of course, we'll let you know once the Orioles have been spotted. They seem to all show up around the same day. So the Orioles should be showing up next week. Those rose-breasted grosbeaks. So exciting stuff. If you are local to the area, Saturday is our bird feeder cleaning day, and we are cleaning your bird feeders for free. You can drop them off any day this week. That just helps us kind of with the flow of things to get a leg up on the whole process. So that's going on this Saturday, which is the 23rd. So drop your feeders off anytime this week, and then we'll call you when they're done. Stephanie has one more question here. She says, how is the grape jelly Oriole food you sell different from the grocery store variety? So we sell something called birdberry jelly, which is quite popular. This is the first thing is it's a mix of grape and blackberry, which they really like. And then this doesn't have any kind of preservatives or artificial flavors or corn sweeteners in it. So that's going to be the main thing you want to look for if you are getting jelly from the supermarket. You just don't want anything with any kind of corn syrup or that kind of thing. It's just not good for the birds. So that is a very good question. So it's the ingredients, and then there's no additives in there. So it's all healthy for the birds. So that is everybody's comments and questions, it looks like, for today. Thank you guys for watching, and we will be back on Saturday with another broadcast. Take care. Bye-bye.